was a man of great ability and a kind heart. Nobles who could satisfy both of these qualities were rare in the entire empire. Chris, an insignificant adventurer, greets Your Excellency the Earl. Perseus bowed. Are you called Chris or Perseus? Count Murphy asked calmly. Perseus Perrin. Perseus was not surprised and smiled slightly. Please forgive me, Your Excellency. I had no intention of concealing my identity. However, as an adventurer, Your Excellency should understand, it is inconvenient to use one's real name. Of course, said Count Murphy, and you are now one of the most prominent figures in the Empire. If you were to appear in Eagle Peak City under your true identity, you would not have time to play the role of an adventurer. Perseus simply smiled. Have a seat, Count Murphy said, glancing at the sofa in the corner. After Perseus took his seat, he sat down on the sofa as well and began to pour tea for the two of them. The tea is warm, just the right temperature for immediate consumption. What would you like me to address you? Count Murphy had asked. Let's call him Chris. It'll be easier that way. Chris, Earl Murphy's gaze was deep. I'll stop beating around the bush. Those who know me know that I prefer to be straightforward. Can you tell me why you've chosen to appear in Eagle Peak City as an adventurer? It's simple. I've had a dream of becoming an adventurer since I was a child. As a child who grew up in a village near Eagle Peak City, I naturally know that the best adventures in the world are in Eagle Peak City. So I came here, Perseus said with a smile. What you say makes sense, but given your special status, it's hard not to think about things in more complicated ways. Special identity? The official appointed by His Majesty to select the imperial concubines. If it weren't for the Earl's reminder, I would have almost forgotten that I have such a status, Perseus said without changing his expression. But I have been fulfilling my duty as the Crown Prince's consort selector, which is to find a suitable candidate for the Crown Prince's consort. Count Murphy remained expressionless. The girls around you, although some of them have probably changed their appearance, can still be identified. Miss Ivisa, Miss Winnie, the one who was with you just now, is Miss Kitty from the Sfingy family, and the last one, whose identity is unknown, but she's probably not of noble birth. The Earl's intelligence network is indeed impressive, Perseus said with a smile. This is common knowledge. Many people are paying attention to you now. With just a little attention, everything is very simple, Count Murphy said. I also suspect that the girl whose identity I cannot ascertain is the key to your coming to Eagle Peak City. Unfortunately, the Earl guessed wrong this time. Perseus shook his head. Oh, Count Murphy smiled nonchalantly. It doesn't matter. I didn't call you here to investigate these trivial details. What is that? You don't mean you're trying to recruit me after you know who I am? Like you recruited the Bloodfang adventurers? Of course not. Although nobles can serve other nobles, you are an extraordinary figure. Not only have you gained His Majesty's favor and trust, but you are also the boyfriend of the Duchess of Hermanthal. How could I, a mere country noble, be worthy of recruiting you? You flatter me, Your Excellency, Perseus said modestly. I'm just a little curious, Earl Murphy said meaningfully. Why haven't you gone to see the city lord since you entered the city? Why should I go to see the city lord? Perseus asked, puzzled. Because he, like you, is one of His Majesty's favorite ministers. Ha! Perseus laughed. Your Excellency is too kind. How could I possibly be compared to the lord of the city? That is far too much of an honor for me. Count Murphy simply looked at him. Perseus explained sincerely. My role as the selection officer is not as glamorous and powerful as people imagine. To be honest, His Majesty appointed me as the selection officer, not because he admires me so much, but simply because the girl under my command has a special status. Count Murphy's expression was solemn. I have always lived in Eagle Peak City and am not very familiar with the affairs of the capital. Could you please explain in detail? Of course, Perseus said. Actually, it's very simple. You don't need to worry about those taboo things. Just think about who His Highness the Crown Prince's former fiancée was. With your intelligence, you'll probably understand. Count Murphy fell in a deep thought, and after a while, slowly nodded. I see. It's so convenient to deal with smart people. Perseus smiled. I'm also well aware of your concerns, Earl. Your relationship with the city lord is irreconcilable. In recent years, the gap between your strengths has been widening. If this continues, it won't be long before you and your family are squeezed out of Eagle Peak City, and the nearly 100 years of hard work that the Murphy family has put into this city will be destroyed. Count Murphy's gaze suddenly sharpened, revealing the imposing presence of a superior. Yet Perseus remained undaunted. After being trained by the Dog Emperor, his heart had become very strong. It's not that there are no people left in this world who can make him tremble with fear, but this count is definitely not one of them. What you said is true, Count Murphy nodded. Many people have seen this, but only you dare to say it to my face. Because I had heard of your wisdom and intelligence long ago, and I knew that you were not the kind of person who liked to deceive yourself. If it weren't for that, I'm afraid I would be just as timid as those people. Perseus Perrin, Count Murphyat smiled faintly. It is widely rumored in the imperial aristocracy that you are an incompetent man who has climbed to your current position through opportunism and flattery. I did not believe such sour rumors at first, but now I suddenly feel that at least your skill in flattery is beyond doubt. I'm ashamed to say that I always thought I was just telling the truth. Perseus flattered again. So, you already know the predicament I'm facing. Do you have any good ideas to help me get out of it? Count Murphyat did not engage in banter with him, but instead went straight to the point. Those bright and wise eyes did indeed carry a hint of expectation, though perhaps not entirely certain. Of course, Perseus, of course, would not disappoint this rare expectation and remained steadfast. As long as we kill the city lord, all problems will be solved. Chapter 157, Conspiring Together. Upon hearing his words, Count Murphyat was stunned, seemingly doubting whether he had heard clearly or if there was something wrong with his mind. But seeing his determined gaze, the Earl gradually stopped doubting himself and then burst into loud laughter. It's clear that Count Murphy is a serious man who rarely smiles. But now he's laughing so wildly that he's completely lost his composure and has become utterly deranged, oblivious to the world around him. Perseus waited patiently for him to finish laughing. After a while, Count Murphy stopped laughing because his stomach hurt so much that he couldn't continue. But his gaze toward Perseus was still full of laughter, a mocking yet self-deprecating laugh. Chris, at first I suspected you were in cahoots with that guy, but what you said dispelled most of my doubts. But now, I have to seriously doubt you again. What? Perseus smiled calmly, even though my answer about dealing with the city lord was very forceful. Yes, it's so tough it's almost like a joke. Unfortunately, although I like to laugh, I don't like to joke. Then I really want to know why you wanted to kill him. What deep-seated hatred do you have for him? Murphyat asked. My lord, I would like to ask you first, how much hatred do you think it takes for one person to want to kill another? Perseus asked sincerely. This is a difficult question to answer. The answer is often that no hatred is needed, only a sufficient conflict of interest. Count Murphy was suddenly startled and looked at Perseus with a very strange expression. Am I wrong? Perseus said indifferently. Just like you and the city lord, you have no hatred for each other, but without a doubt, if you were given the chance to kill each other without having to bear the consequences, you would not hesitate. You've hit the nail on the head, Count Murphy said gravely. But the problem is, the assumption of not having to bear the consequences doesn't exist in reality. Whoever kills the other will be out of luck, which is why we're all still alive. Yes, Perseus nodded. You are a nobleman of high status and great prestige, and he is His Majesty's favorite. You are both very important figures. Your special status is both the reason for your success and your lifeline. Since you already know, then tell me, how can I avoid bearing the consequences? The riddle is in the riddle itself, Perseus said. As long as he is no longer your Majesty's favorite, without even getting your hands dirty, he will disappear from this world in a very miserable way. Count Murphy gave him a deep look. You want to play with fire? What's wrong with that? This method is not your original idea. Although I'm not smart, I have thought of it before. But it is actually the most foolish method in the world. No one with a sound mind would use it. If I had used it, my family and I would have been wiped out long ago. Ah, yes. The city lord is the emperor's favorite minister. To make the city lord no longer the emperor's favorite minister, we need to sow discord between the city lord and the emperor. Sowing discord is a risky thing to do. The smarter the person, the greater the risk. In the eyes of his subjects, the emperor's wisdom encompassed the entire universe, so if anyone dared to try any tricks on him, the risks and dangers were immense. As the emperor's loyal hound, the city lord is essentially an embodiment of the emperor, perfectly projecting his will onto the land he rules. A city lord can be incompetent, morally corrupt, and even commit evil deeds that harm the people. However, as long as one is loyal enough, the above shortcomings are irrelevant to the emperor. Whether the city lord is loyal or not must be decided by the emperor himself. Anyone who takes it upon themselves to doubt this loyalty will also have their loyalty doubted by the emperor. Even if he succeeds in overthrowing the city lord, he himself will fall down and never be able to stand up again. Although Count Murphyat wished the city lord would die immediately, he did not want to take him down with him, and he dared not take even the slightest risk. This is actually a perfectly correct choice. Given the Emperor's character, he might have met a terrible end even without playing with fire, let alone if he were to actually do so. My lord, I fully understand your concerns, but killing the city lord is my long-cherished wish, and I don't want to be held accountable by His Majesty afterward. The only way is to not only avoid being held accountable by His Majesty, but also to be rewarded by him. Perseus looked helpless. Are you really a madman? Count Murphyat murmured. Perseus knew this was yet another rumor about him. How disappointing, Perseus muttered. What did you say? Count Murphy frowned slightly. I say, you have truly disappointed me, Your Excellency, Perseus said mercilessly. The esteemed Earl of Murphyat is such a coward, trampled underfoot by a sycophant who doesn't even dare to resist. Count Murphyat's eyes became extremely terrifying and dangerous. Of course, I understand your concerns, but I've heard that since the head is already in the tiger's mouth, there's no point in fantasizing about any other possibility. What do you think? Perseus met his gaze calmly, a slight smile playing on his lips. For some inexplicable reason, Count Murphyat instinctively avoided that gaze. Give me some more time to consider. There's no need for that, Perseus said. Whether you want to get involved or not, I'm going to take his head, so you don't need to bother pretending to be a coward. Just stay here and be on your own. The final result will definitely satisfy you. I have other things to do, so I'll be leaving now. He drank the cup of tea in front of him in one gulp and stood up. Wait, Count Murphy shouted. Sit down. What's the reason? Perseus didn't obediently listen. His smile was sharp and sarcastic. Count Murphy was so angry he almost exploded on the spot. He couldn't speak at the moment and was breathing rapidly. His face turned red and white, and his eyes looked like they were about to spit fire. Count Murphyat clutched his chest, his voice hoarse. Perseus Parent, this is the first time I've ever seen a nobleman like you. You're more shameless than the most despicable street thug. Really? But I only know what I should do. I'm sorry. There's no need to reveal this part to a coward like you. I don't care what you want to do. Since it's your idea, it must be something unorthodox that I wouldn't even dare to listen to. Like I said, I don't care. Count Murphyat took a deep breath, his eyes calm. From now on, you can use all the resources of the Murphyat family at your disposal, and you can even order me around as you please. I only need you to do one thing. That means sending that arrogant, rude, and despicable thing to hell. Count Murphy roared in a low voice, his muscles almost bursting out of his expensive clothes. Perseus smiled broadly and bowed deeply. As expected, the rumors I've heard about you all along are true, Earl Murphyat. Everyone says you are a gentleman among gentlemen, but when you go crazy, the entire Eagle Peak city will be turned upside down. Is that so? Count Murphyat sneered. Then please turn it over for me. Yes, sir. Perseus replied respectfully, a dark shadow flashing in his eyes. Chapter 1, 58 Relics of the Gods. After this conversation, Perseus sat back down, and the two fell into a long silence. Count Murphy was quite angry with him and needed some time to calm down, otherwise he might suffer long-term consequences and have cardiovascular problems in the future. He also needed time to process their conversation. If Count Murphyat does not go back on his word, he will undoubtedly receive tremendous assistance. But if this old man really goes back on his word, then let's clean it up together with the city lord. Rest assured, I will never take back what I said, Count Murphyat said calmly, as if he knew what Murphy was thinking. You only need to think about how to use the power at your disposal. Perseus really looked at his hands. I hope you're not just all talk. Count Murphyat sneered. Although the old man was willing to cooperate with him, he seemed to have some kind of prejudice against him. Rest assured, I will not let you down, Perseus smiled, nor will I put the Murphyat family in danger. You don't need to hold yourself back because of the latter, Count Murphyat said calmly. I've figured it out. There's no such thing as accomplishing something without paying a price. I want to kill that guy more than you do. Believe it or not,